This is where it ends for so many, without ceremony or even their names spoken softly. The corpses that have littered Tacloban, as so much of the city leaves, come to rest here and tell parts of the horror of how they must have died. But they leave many questions too, among the overpowering smell of looming disease. It's a cold but necessary process, the accounting of the dead that happens here and the condition they arrive in after days in the open and the impact of flood waters, gruesome, sometimes unrecognisable. But for the relatives who come here in search of their loved ones, it's here that they hear the toughest answers. Some endure the search for mothers or brothers, but just find more not knowing. These had ways of identification, cards, witnesses. These didn't. Dilling Bonda came here to look for her son, Gerald. On the night of the storm, they shared cake and soda before he said the rain wasn't that bad and went out. His brother George has the more gruesome task along the rows, until it's clear they'll have no answers here.
That's all I want. Even if it's a corpse, I'd like to see my son. That's why I'm here every day, looking.
The death toll officials give may vary, but this torturous process won't. Bodies brought in and then taken away, driven to the outskirts of town where young police hesitate over their grim job. About 100 already here. The mayor said the grave is just temporary, but the holes they leave in the families, hearts and homes of Tacloban is permanent.
It's hard to imagine, Nick, what you saw, and I think obviously you so eloquently conveyed it there, but I know that earlier this week you'd been reporting on the relief efforts, that they were too slow, people weren't able to get food, they were resorting to eating all kinds of horrific things. Is it better?
Yeah, it is better, certainly. I mean, it's interesting to see what we saw as we left yesterday. There was a substantial effort underway, people even putting the telegraph poles back up to try and get electricity going, food being handed out, water literally being handed out off the back of trucks. Kind of what you'd like to have seen happen on day 2 or day 3, or expected to see happen then, happening roughly on day 7 or so. So yes, the government is there in evidence now. There are people flown in from across the country helping people get life back together, but there's a massive task ahead. I mean, I flew out on an enormous American C-17 cargo plane that was full of Filipino people just trying to get out of there because there's nothing really left to support life. There's still debris all over the streets. The job of cleaning that up is massive before you can even think about a normal life. There are still bodies within that rubble. You can smell it, although the job of partaking of the corpses that risk giving everyone disease for so long is now underway, as you just saw. There's a massive task ahead. There's nothing really to support a community there at this point apart from emergency food being handed out. So the question now is becoming much less about the short-term sustenance of those staying behind and more kind of the medium-term thing of how do you actually get people back to some sort of lifestyle that they can tolerate in the weeks and months ahead. And of course, when the international community's eyes come off that town, do the efforts continue at such a pace? The US military, though, that airport where we spend so much time, they've transformed it. Planes coming in so regularly now, so much material coming off them.